You're standing by a dying fire 20,000 years before anyone thought to build a wall. Somewhere past where the light stops, two eyes catch the glow and hold still. You have no lock. No wall, no weapon sharper than a sharpened stick. Your teeth can't tear meat off a bone fast enough to matter, and your nails can't break skin. A chimpanzee 30 feet up a tree, 3 times stronger than you and armed with real fangs, still loses fights with whatever's prowling out there tonight. You can't outrun the thing in the dark, you can't outclimb it, and if it decides tonight is the night, you cannot fight it and win. Behind you, your children are asleep, close enough to touch, and you cannot watch the dark and watch them at the same time. Then the eyes move, not away. Closer. Every instinct built into you over 1,000,000 years is screaming at you to grab a burning branch and drive it off. And somewhere on some night we'll never be able to point to on a map one person didn't. That decision is strange enough on its own. What's stranger is what came after it. Within a few thousand years, people across an entire continent were doing the same thing on purpose, letting an apex predator sleep close enough to guard the most vulnerable people in the group. Why would anyone let that happen twice, let alone everywhere? Not because that first animal was born gentle. Ice Age wolves weren't small. They were built to bring down bison and young mammoths, hunting in packs that could kill a person in under a minute if they wanted to. Nothing about the species walking toward that fire was naturally safe. And not because a human went looking for a puppy to raise either. There was no leash, no breeding program, no plan. Nobody walked into the tree line and picked one out. If it wasn't friendliness and it wasn't a decision, something else did the work. Every camp produced scraps, bones, fat, waste nobody wanted. Most wolves kept their distance. A pack of fire-wielding, upright primates wasn't worth the risk. But a few individuals had slightly calmer nerves around humans than the rest of their pack. They got a little closer, ate a little more, and survived a little better than the wolves who stayed away. Generation after generation, without a single human choosing anything, the wolves hanging around camp edges got calmer, bolder, less like a wolf. In 1959, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitri Belyaev wanted to know if that alone could actually work, so he ran the experiment in real time, using foxes instead of wolves. He selected for exactly one trait: how calm the animal stayed around a person. Not size, not coat, not intelligence, just tameness. Within a few generations, the calmest foxes started growing floppy ears, curling tails, and patchy coats, features nobody had bred for and that don't occur naturally in the wild. Selecting for trust alone was enough to remodel an entire animal, body included. Tameness wasn't trained into that first wolf. It grew there on its own, one meal at a time. Getting close enough to tolerate a human is one problem. Lying down 20 feet from someone's children is a different one entirely. Tolerance doesn't explain that kind of trust. Something had to be happening at a level deeper than behavior. In 2015, a researcher named Miho Nagasawa at Azabu University in Japan ran a simple test. She had dog owners sit with their dogs and measured hormones in their urine before and after. Pairs that held eye contact longer showed a spike in oxytocin in both the dog and the owner, the same hormone that floods a mother's brain when she locks eyes with her newborn. Then Nagasawa tried it with wolves raised by humans from birth. Even hand-raised, bottle-fed wolves didn't produce that spike. Somewhere across thousands of years of standing near firelight, something in that animal's brain had been rewired to read a human face the way a parent reads their own child's. Your dog is still running that exact program today. It just aims the same wide, hopeful stare at you when you open the fridge, instead of at a person deciding whether to let it near the fire. Chemistry explains why trust could form. It doesn't explain why a family would keep an animal around once it stopped being useful. For that, you need a grave. In 1914, workers near Bonn, Germany uncovered the remains of a man, a woman, and a puppy, buried together roughly 14,000 years ago. In 2018, a veterinarian named Luke Janssens at Leiden University examined the puppy's teeth under high magnification and found the marks of a brutal illness, canine distemper, starting around 19 weeks old. Left untreated, a case that severe kills a dog in under 3 weeks. This puppy lived for several more weeks after that window closed, sick the entire time, before it finally died at around 7 months old. Someone kept feeding it. Someone kept it warm. Someone made the decision day after day to keep a very sick, completely useless animal alive, long after it had stopped guarding anything. That's the piece that actually answers the question from the fire. Good hearing in the dark is a reason to tolerate an animal. It's not a reason to fall asleep next to one, exhausted, 20 feet from your children. Somewhere along the way, the animal had already stopped being a tool you kept around for its senses. It had started being someone you nursed back to health for no other reason than wanting it to live. And a family doesn't sleep easy next to a tool. They sleep easy next to someone they trust. A wolf that shouldn't have come near the fire came anyway. A trait nobody selected for reshaped its whole body. A hormone nobody planned for rewired two different brains to recognize each other as family. And a species that should have been left to die once it stopped being useful got carried through its sickness instead. Tonight, if you have a dog, the doors are locked and you don't need anything standing guard between your children and the dark. But somewhere in your house, an animal descended from that same species is almost certainly lying by a door anyway. Ears working even while it sleeps, running an instinct that's been rehearsed for over 10,000 years. You didn't train it to do that. Somewhere back at that first fire, someone decided a predator was safe enough to lie down next to their children while they slept, and it's never really stopped since. So the next time your dog gets up at 2 a.m. for no reason you can see, ask yourself what it just heard that you didn't.